an absolute honor and pleasure to be here. For this wonderful young gentleman reminded me about when I first met him. I think it was here. Was it here, Alex? I met you here. And he was DJing in a booth. And I told him to turn his shit down. Because it was so loud we couldn't hear a thing anywhere. And he did. And, you know, we talk about the future because, honestly, guys, I'm on the back nine. I understand that. But we talk about the future. We talk about burnout. There's so many things going on in this world right now. And what you're going to learn from this fine young gentleman who is the future of our business is going to just start taking notes now. And it is my honor and pleasure avoiding DJ Burnout. Would you please welcome Mr. Alex Brown?
Pleasure, my brother. Thank you. All right, thanks for the hot in here, Mike. It's a little hot in here today. I've been sitting in here all day for seminars, so thank you very much for that. Also, we're going to get lit today talking about burnout, so we have the fire emoji on the screen. It's hot in so many ways in here. If you're feeling burnt out, you might be feeling hot too right now. I have a couple ground things I'm going to point out before I get into the presentation. My name is Alex. I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a minute. Just like to put out there, I am probably one of the most brash people you'll ever meet, so I don't leave anything off the table. I will likely swear in this presentation, so I hope you're ready.
I'm already.
Thank you. Rick gets offended with anything. I'd also like to thank the people from my Rhode Island crew that have come out here. Thank you very much for coming out to support me today. So, thank you. Let's move right in. First of all, who am I? My name's DJ Alex Brown. This is a picture from my first paid DJ event in 2013. I've been DJing since the ripe young age of 11 years old. At that time, I was 13, and that was my light setup. And that's how many pixels we had on the phone camera back then. I'm primarily a wedding DJ. This is Matt in this photo with me. He's one of my other DJs. He is my first hire that has been with me for about 3 years. I'm a wedding MBA certified wedding DJ for any of you in here who are also holding that certification. I'm the president of ILEA Rhode Island, the International Live Events Association, the Rhode Island chapter of that as of this year. And if you don't know what ILEA is, I'd be happy to talk to you about it later. Also, a quick thing I just remembered, I'm going to ask that you hold the questions until the end unless I realize that this presentation is running fast because we do have a hard out at 6 o'clock that I was made aware of. I am the owner of It's Lit Weddings and Events, so we have an extra little piece of fire here. Great company name, I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. I'm also a real estate investor. I have 2 multifamily homes, a 3-family and a 4-family. This also contributes to my burnout. I'm an alumni of Johnson & Wales University with a bachelor's degree in business administration. I think we got some JWU crew over there. Go Wildcats. I'm also a former club DJ. And as a sidetrack to that, I'd like to shout out that if you have anything interesting, I might be interested in it. So feel free to hit me up. And finally, 2 of my favorite photos of the slide. My first DJ Expo in 2015, if any of you know Brian Red, I saw him last year at the Pioneer Party, and I said we have to do a 9 or 10 year photo, however long it's been. So, 10 years of DJX this year. At that time, I was 15 years old. I'll leave this because I see some people taking pictures. And I think it was the year after that that Big Daddy told me I needed to turn down the music at the FBT booth. Surprised they let me come back to present. So, how did burnout manifest for me? You might have similar stories, but your stories can vary a lot. I'm a DJ, but there might be people in this room who are not DJs. And burnout is not exclusively a DJ problem. And we will talk about a lot of things DJ related today, but I want you to know if you're not a DJ or if you don't have DJ related burnout, that is totally okay and valid. And a lot of these same things are going to apply. So, I was DJing a wedding in October of 2023 One of my good friends from high school and middle school was helping me because I was short-staffed. He was running the photo booth for me. He noticed something wasn't right. He mentioned it to me. And ultimately, this was my rock bottom gig of burnout. He came up to me after I did the wedding introductions and said, "Hey man, what's going on? I can hear something's not right by the way you did introductions. I've been hearing you DJ for 7 years now, and that was not how you usually do wedding introductions." Now, obviously, it's not a good thing when your burnout carries over into your weddings and you sound like this on the microphone when you're doing wedding introductions and you're just trying to get through them as fast as you possibly can. Not good, right? Oh, I don't have audio hookup. Does anybody know this meme? We got a couple. Yeah, no.
You want?
Sure, we'll do it again. Yeah. Are we muted so I don't go?
Yes.
Let's try this again. Oh.
Go back to. Not forward.
Here we go.
I love myself. Even though I think a burnt chicken nugget, I still love myself.
Clearly, some people got it in the room. Now, this is a meme from when I was in middle school, and being a zillennial, I love memes. Now, this is how I felt when I was burnt out, and I remember literally texting friends on Instagram who would ask me, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" And I would say, "I feel like a burnt chicken nugget." So that's why this meme reminds me of burnout. If any of you feel like this, hopefully you'll walk out feeling better today. I also want to give a quick disclaimer. I am not a mental health professional. As I mentioned, I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. I'm happy to talk finance with you, and I'm happy to talk about burnout. However, you may need to seek professional help. You may need to consider therapy. BetterHelp is one service that you may have heard of. They do a lot of advertising online. That's a great way to work on that aspect. And burnout, it's not a one-faceted approach to solve your burnout. You may need multifaceted approaches. BetterHelp, therapy, those things are one thing that can help you recover from your burnout, and that might be a necessary thing to explore. Also, no stigma about mental health in this room, right, everybody? That was lame for a bunch of DJs. I know it's the last seminar of the day. Let's try that one more time. No stigma about mental health in this room, right? Yes. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. What are we going to cover today? I'm going to get real, and I'm going to need you all to get real with me today. We're going to talk about real experiences, real recovery, and what you need to hear, whether you like it or not, about burnout for DJs. You're going to need to get real with me too. So I need a quick commitment from everybody. If you raise your right hand for me, I commit. You don't need to say this with me. Actually, you can if you want. I commit to be real about my burnout. Thank you. I love the crowd interaction. And obviously, I'm a DJ, so we all love that, right? So, what is burnout? This is kind of a textbook definition here, so just bear with me. It is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion caused by prolonged or repeated stress. If you just fell asleep listening to that, let's use the second one. It's exhaustion from workplace stress. There are some signs of burnout that I want you to be critically aware of, and this is a great slide. I'm going to have some boxes that are going to pop up here. It's a great slide to take a photo of. I'm going to give you some explanations of some of these. If you want my slides with my notes, just hit me up after. My contact info will be at the end of the presentation. I'd be happy to share that with you because there's some notes that might help you that are not necessarily on the slide here because I don't like to make my slides too wordy. So, some signs of burnout. And we're talking really macro here, like big picture. You could have headaches and physical reactions, headaches, migraines, physical sickness, even a weakened immune system. You could have cynicism, negativity, chronic negativity, be perhaps sad all the time, and that's where we move into the depression side. That is defined as a lack of pleasure or interest in doing things. Generally, this will also manifest if you are burnt out as a general stuckness, or in the mental health field, they call this the freeze response. And finally, chronic fatigue. You may be tired all the time for a number of reasons, but part of that being high cortisol, stress, burnout, and as a result of that, you could be not sleeping very well. What are the causes of burnout? You could be overgiving in a number of ways. You could be overgiving with your time. Give more than you can physically or mentally handle. You could be just plain old too busy. You're taking on too much more than you can handle. You could be stressed, and this can come from a number of different things. Again, the stress hormone is cortisol in the body, and that is, like I said, it's a hormone, it's a chemical in your body. That's where we get back into that mental health part of burnout. Your environmental and life factors can also factor into burnout. And I'm not sure if he's in the room today, but I had a conversation with a DJ about an hour ago in the back of this room as we were discussing my presentation, and he told me about his most recent time of burnout. A loved one was hospitalized unexpectedly for a period of time of about 3 years, and he had to drop everything and give a lot of care to this loved one. That made him way too busy. He ended up getting out of the DJ industry, and now he's coming back to DJX for the first time in about 5 years because he's looking to get back in. If you're in that position, I hope that we can prevent you from having to exit the industry today. Also, I just missed one quick thing on that slide. I want to tell a quick personal story that was triggered by that, because that specific gentleman, he mentioned that he would be at weddings and he had so much on his mind that he could not handle being happy for somebody else at their wedding. I have been through times like this. This is what manifested at my burnout with other things. But I've also had times where I went through a breakup recently of a 5.5-year long relationship. How do you think I felt going to somebody's wedding after getting broken up with 5 days before? Yeah, it felt like shit. So if you have personal things going on, this is very important to consider that personal things in your life can affect that too. There are still techniques and strategies to avoid those personal things causing you burnout, and that's what we're going to talk about today. First off, this is another great slide to take a picture of. I want you to pick your mantra from this list. I'm going to give plenty of time. Feel free to get up, come up, and take a picture of this slide. So this is a canvas print I have hanging on my wall. It's right above my desk, as you can see here, next to my diploma. So there's a couple things that are on the slide. I'm not going to go through every single one of the things on that canvas print. But I want you today to pick a mantra that works for you. And again, if you want the slides, you'll have all my notes with everything on here. Number one, do something today, even if it's wrong. If you are in that freeze response and you are in that stuckness, you need to just get something done. You need momentum to get moving. This will help you recover from that burnout. All that matters today is if it works for me or for you. That is a critically important thing that as I've been discussing this topic with people, they are saying, oh, well, I had to do this because this is what worked for me, and I feel so much better now. I was actually just talking in the hallway with someone who said they wouldn't be at the DJ Expo if they took a certain gig, and that now they were here talking to me about this topic because they did not take that gig and they didn't want to. They would rather be here. What's in the past cannot be changed, and I'll come back to the one before that. What's in the past can't be changed. I'm going to skip down as well on this one. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to not learn from your failures. You cannot change what happened in the past, but what you can change is how you handle things in the future. So you need to learn from those mistakes that happened in the past. I am not saying ignore the past completely. I'm saying you can't change what actually happened. You cannot go back in time as far as I know right now. The technology does not. We're getting pretty far with the AI, but take a risk, okay? Matt Radicelli in his seminar in here this morning was talking about how people need to dip their toes in the puddle. When a kid sees a puddle, they jump in, right? But if you're 10 years into the business, are you jumping into the puddle? No. You might not even dip your toes in. When I'm saying take a risk, I'm saying just dip your toes in and try something. Take a little bit of risk. Take what you can handle. You need to take life at your own pace. Unfortunately, I'm the textbook example of not doing that, and I am not patient at all, and I go way too fast for myself. But also, that speaks to my pace. If your pace is slower than somebody else's, you don't need to sit there and compare yourself to the other DJ in your area who just bought a QSC L-class line array, and you're jealous of that. Guess what? If that's not your pace, you don't need to worry about that. Something that came from DJ Expo last year was it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that's why that's handwritten onto this canvas print, because it came after I got this thing. Unfortunately, I don't think that presenter is here this year, but he had a lot of great things to share that would have also applied to this presentation. But it's a marathon, not a sprint. If you're trying to build your company into a multi-op and you're trying to do it overnight, you're probably rushing that process. So you need to tell yourself that it's okay to go slow, go at your own pace. I have two things to add that are not listed on here, and that is don't do anything you don't want to do. I want to do a quick raise of hands if you've ever accepted a gig that you didn't actually want to do. Yeah, basically everybody in this room. So the next time one of those gigs comes in, trust your gut, trust your intuition. Don't take it on if you're not going to enjoy it. Now, if it's going to make you a lot of money, maybe you need to jack the price up a little bit. I have been guilty of that as well. And that happens sometimes too. I'm going to ask you to share that.
All right, so for me, I'm a big energy guy. I love kids, but the energy that is needed to get the kids moving and stuff, and sometimes, I got parents, really it's the parents. They're sitting here judging on what I'm going to do, so I have to pick a line. I want to satisfy the kids, but I want to satisfy the parents too. But in the end, I'm going to satisfy the kids because I don't need it. I got a full-time job. So in this instant, I'm like, okay, you know what? Instead of this amount, I'm going to do this. Okay. And I wasn't ready. I really thought that they were going to say no. So that leads to, say no.
And that's exactly what he said, is if it's not worth any price to do it, in a nutshell, you just need to say no, and it's okay to say no. Finally, you run your life, not your business, not your clients. This was one of the most important things for me to learn when I was recovering from burnout. This is a tough one, guys, and this is probably another slide you're going to want to take a picture of. Setting boundaries with family and friends, and there is so much more than what we're talking about on this slide. But first question for you, have you had the conversation at the dinner table with a family member, a friend, spouse, girlfriend, whatever situation it was, and they bring up something work-related that just sets your anxiety off and you know you're not going to be able to sleep that night? Yeah? That used to happen to me all the time. So one of the key things you need to do, and setting boundaries is a huge part of avoiding and recovering from burnout. You need to set boundaries with your family and friends about when it is okay for them to talk about work, if that work is what's stressing you out and causing you to burn out, because it's not worth losing your sleep. Also, if they only know how to talk to you about work, you need to reevaluate your priorities in that friendship. Maybe you need to start asking questions about them. Maybe it's a one-sided friendship. Perhaps this might even deepen your friendships too. You also need to set your own personal boundaries for time with family and friends. And this is going to look different for everyone. So for me, I know I need a certain amount of time off each week. And for some of you, that's going to look different. For me, it's about a day a week or I am going to get burnt out. I just need one day to recharge, see my family, see friends, whatever I got to do. And if you have, say, a friend who wants to see you every night for dinner because they don't have anything else going on in their life, and you need to set a boundary with them and say, like, if you're the kind of person who can't say no, you got to learn to say no to that person. And be like, I can't give that time to you. And for example, my mom, I have dinner with her almost every week, but she knows now that there are certain weeks that I am going to be too busy to have dinner. Mom, I'm sorry. She knows that now. That boundary was set. Might sound really simple, but when you start trying to do this, you might find that that's hard to tell a loved one that you can't have dinner with them. Now, I'm not saying ruin your marriage for this, because that's where your business does not run your life. Do not ruin your marriage because you're burnt out. Do not divorce your spouse because you're burnt out. There might be other reasons to divorce your spouse, but we're not getting into that today. How many of people in the room are multi-ops? How many are single ops? Okay. Maybe a little more heavy on the single op side. This may not apply as much to you if you're a single op, because this focuses more on dealing with people in your business to maintain your quality and preserve your values. You guys ready for how OCD I am? This is a picture that I print out and laminate and put in my mic cases because it drives me absolutely insane when people don't put my shit back right and I open it up and I'm missing a wire and I'm at a wedding ceremony and I always have the stuff to fix it, but I'm just pissed off. If you take my shit, respect it. So I came up with this, and I have a ton of these different systems. I have guides for almost everything I own for my employees to use. But this is how OCD I am. Now, I know that it's going to cause me burnout if I don't do this because things are going to get broken. You can actually see right here where the foam in this case has separated because somebody put, I think they put this wire, the power thing for the Shure mic base in here. I don't even know. I'm like, to me, this is common sense. And to you that have staff, it's probably common sense too. But it might not be common sense to your staff, so you got to lay it out for them. Nobody's perfect, though. And this is what we have to be very clear about. If you think you're perfect, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not. Because nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. You need to determine what your individual level of perfection is. If it's 95% of the time that things get executed right, you need to set that standard. But don't expect that something like this is going to completely solve the problem. Over time, we all know that equipment is probably going to get broken at some point. Depends on your staff, it depends on how you handle your stuff. I know DJs that have had their gear for 20 years and it looks like it's brand new out of the box. I know DJs that have had their gear for 1 year and it's already in a dumpster. Next part of this is when to accept or decline work. We're going to talk about two things because there's a single op side of this and a multi-op side of this, and I'll try and focus more on the single op side because that's most of who we have in the room. This is my DJ event planner calendar up here. As you can see, I have yellow dates. I have these little green triangle things. I have green dates. I have black dates, and then I have red. I believe the red is we're oversold, black is blacked out, which means I physically put something on the calendar manually to say, we are not taking anything else. Green is we have booked things, and yellow is, green is one, yellow means we have multiple. That stuff doesn't matter for the purpose of this presentation. You need to go in, if you're using a CRM, and if you're running a multi-op and you're not using a CRM, for the love of God, please get DJ Event Planner. But in DJ Event Planner, you can black out dates. I use this with my staff who books things because I don't only work DJ gigs. I am also the fill-in guy, and I'm always on call, which we'll talk about in a moment. Right? Oh. Sorry, I went too far forward. A lot of DJs, you're always going to be on call, especially if you're running a multi-op. But these blackout dates mean I will not accept anything, we will not accept anything else as a company. This takes some manual work. There's probably a way to automate it. I haven't gotten that far down the road yet. You can also use criteria in DJ Event Planner to say, we only have capacity for 5 gigs, so once we hit 5 gigs, make it red on the calendar. You have to set boundaries for your time and what your limit is. If your company limit is 5 gigs and that's all you can handle, set the limit that you or your staff can only book 5 gigs and then stick to it. And that is the biggest takeaway I can give you, is stick to those boundaries that you set. Limits on bookings. You also have to be self-accountable, but you also have to hold your staff accountable if somebody else is booking gigs for you. We also have to talk, if you're a multi-op especially, about employee burnout. I've had my employees who hit the point of burnout, and you have to be in constant communication with them and understand the signs of burnout, not just for yourself, but for your employees. Are they slow to communicate? Maybe they're burnt out. Maybe they're headed there. In my case, I've had an employee who I can see is going down a water slide in New Hampshire, and I have her clients emailing me saying, I have not heard back from the DJ from my wedding. I'm getting kind of concerned. I'm not confident in this right now. And I ended up having to make that decision as a business owner to say, this specific client who is having a problem is completely valid in the problem that they're having. I'm going to discipline this employee, and also I'm going to step in and take over this wedding so that this client is confident that their wedding is going to be done right. And then you handle the employee. But ideally, I should have caught that long before that happened, so that that client, because we connect DJs with the client about a month before the wedding, so that that connection was never made. I should have caught that earlier. That's on me. And that's one thing to say that is a continual learning process. Always. Personally, if anybody knows what lean management is, I'm certified in lean management, and that's basically about continuous improvement. I am always trying to improve my systems, and doing that might help you prevent burnout. Oh, keep hitting the wrong button on this thing. We have to talk about taking care of yourself. Self-care is not luxury, it's necessity. And if you're like, oh, self-care, you know what self-care is in this context? Eating, showering, and sleeping. If you're not doing those, drop everything you are doing right now, leave this presentation, and please go take a nap. And also, please take a shower, because I can smell you from here. No, I'm just kidding. There are additional parts to this once you hit that bare minimum of eat, shower, and sleep. Things like the gym and exercising. I've gotten into a gym routine. I go to the gym approximately twice a week. Once a week I run with a run club. And on Tuesday nights, I also work on my Kung Fu. Does anybody know who the guy is in this picture? Laid Back Luke, that's right. So I did a workout with Laid Back Luke in 2019 when he was up here for a show in Boston. But I do his Kung Fu program, which is an online program. I think he still offers it. I mean, like, I still do it, but I don't know if he's advertising it. But if you need something to get into and you're a DJ, the motivation might help that you're doing Laid Back Luke's Kung Fu program, because it certainly helped me. You can also read, listen to podcasts or audiobooks if you don't have time to read. Again, this is a form of self-care, and this is about pushing you out of doing everything business related. On the note of reading podcasts and audiobooks, the one stipulation I'll put on it is if your burnout is caused by working too much, those audiobooks should not be 5 ways to improve your business, or how to build a story brand, or profit first. Now, you could read self-improvement books that might help you in your business, but just try and be aware of that. Only you are going to know for yourself if those things are going to help or hurt your burnout. And you can always try things and change it if you need to. Also, you can listen to music. But I'm going to put another stipulation on this. If you're a DJ, don't be listening to music because you're trying to find your next DJ mix, because that's not going to help with your burnout. Listen to music you like, because I'm sure there's plenty of DJs in this room who do not get to play what they like, myself included. I do a lot of weddings. Do I get to have a rave at a wedding? Not every single wedding I do. Probably not half the weddings that I do. All right, another way to prevent burnout before it happens is to set some boundaries, of course, but you can have really poor boundaries by doing things that people tell you to do to get more business. I personally had really poor boundaries in the past. And there's going to be a lot of people who are successful in sales that tell you you need to respond to every lead as fast as you possibly can. That should be like Alan Berg's mantra, if you all know who he is. He will respond to my email at something like 1 o'clock in the morning when I email him, and I'm like, I would never do that because I know that's going to cause me burnout. If your choice is sales versus sanity, I'm going to tell you personally, I'm choosing my sanity. When I shut my email off at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., I'm not looking at it again that day because I know that's not good for me and that's going to cause me to burn out. Same thing for my text line. I also keep that separate, and I do not give anyone, except for Klatai, my phone number. I give them a separate business phone number, which I use this little app, OpenPhone, for. If you're not familiar with OpenPhone, I have a convenient referral code here. That's how you can send me a tip for presenting today. OpenPhone allows me to set up automated responses if I get a text after hours, automated after hours voicemails that are different from your voicemail during business hours, and it also allows me to send all of my calls straight to voicemail, especially if they pick a specific option on my voice menu, because guess what? I never answer my phone because it disrupts my day too much and will cause me to burn out. So I don't answer my phone. Again, this is not the successful sales tactic. I do the opposite of what successful business owners will tell you to do. And that's why it's important to set your own priorities, because I know I'm losing sales because of it. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've gotten today. And frankly, it's not worth losing my sanity to book those gigs. Obviously, you need to be in a position that you can afford to say no. I also rarely text people. I'm really a big email guy. So if y'all want to follow up after this presentation, please don't text me. Please send me an email. But I also coach my clients into the sales funnel through my DJ Event Planner web form. If they text me, they get an automated text back that says, please fill out my DJ Event Planner form on the website. Here's the link. And a lot of times, I just straight up don't respond to text messages unless it's like a balloon vendor or something that I know. I would be a bad presenter if I didn't say that you do still have to communicate with people. And there are certain ways you can do this that will not burn you out and will also make sure your clients still have a great experience. The easy way for me to do this is if I know I can't get back to someone for 3 days, and granted, I usually have an autoresponder on, but if I can't get back to them for 3 days, especially if they email me a second time, I'll say, hey, listen, really sorry, I can't get to this right now, but I'll get back to you in about 3 days, and please feel free to follow up with me if I don't. Guess what? Now that client has been communicated with. They're not that worried about what their question is. They just wanted to make sure that I had received it. You communicate with them. You have minimum standards for your communication. Let's say it's 24 hours. If you can't get back to them in 24 hours, just send them a quick email. Hey, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. That's all it takes. Now we got to talk about why DJs specifically are burnt out, because as a DJ myself, I know it is not easy to be in the DJ industry and not burn out. Our working hours can suck, especially if you're doing nightlife. If you're working until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you have to get up at 5 a.m. the next day to go prep something for your wedding you have that starts at some ungodly hour like noon because it's a micro ceremony, the working hours suck. DJing might be a second job for you. If it is a full-time job for you, you're probably grinding pretty hard to make it work, especially if you're early in your full-time journey. Unfortunately, across all entrepreneurs, and I'm going to consider any DJs working for themselves in this room to be entrepreneurs within that class, there is a level of lack of business knowledge and finance knowledge. Sometimes people are working at a loss. That will burn you out because you're going to be working when you're actually paying someone to do their gig and you don't realize it. Like I mentioned before, there is an on-call nature to this industry, especially if you are running a multi-op. I have been on a boat a mile out to sea, and I'm getting calls from an employee who's running a photo booth because the client never picked their backdrop, and now they're upset that they got a gold backdrop instead of red. If anybody has gotten the 1 o'clock in the morning text or call that somebody's broken down on their way back to the office, you need to have some level of payment for your sanity in that, or you need to determine if it's not worth your time and say, I'm not going to be a multi-op anymore because of this, or I'm going to put someone on call for me. If there's a gig happening while I'm at DJX and there's a photo booth out and I'm in the middle of my presentation like I am right now, guess what? I'm putting Tyler on the clock for 6 hours. I don't care what it costs me because I need my sanity. Tyler's like my senior photo booth tech, by the way, for context. We also, unfortunately, have to talk about DJs that are doing this for passion, exposure, or as a hobby, because you can get burnt out because of that. And I'm just going to set a ground rule right now. If you're burnt out because you're DJing a club at 2 o'clock in the morning for $50, stop DJing clubs. Just stop doing it. Now, if it's something you love, you might need to reevaluate and maybe you need to change something else on your schedule. There's also other aspects more than DJing. These setups that I have pictures of on the screen are 2 setups we did this past weekend. I had about 6 events in 2 days last weekend, which is actually kind of small for us. But both nights I had 2 photo booths out. So this is a photo booth. And then this is a wedding I DJ'd and also did bistro lighting for. The bistro lighting installed in the tent, I did that at 9 o'clock that morning with an employee of mine. Who in this room is doing something more than just DJing? Raise your hand if you're doing a photo booth, uplighting, anything like that. How many photographers do you know that are also DJing? Probably none, right? I mean, we all know there's that one company in our area that offers everything that we all hate. I know. I can relate. But as DJs, we frequently take on a lot of different things. And if you take on more than you handle, like I know I can handle bistro lighting, but if I can't handle it anymore, I'm going to drop it off my schedule. Because I'm not going to burn out to do bistro lighting, even though it makes us a shit ton of money, so I'm going to keep doing it. I'd probably honestly stop DJing before I stop doing bistro lighting because it makes us so much money. If you don't do bistro lighting, learn how to do it. This is my second to last slide, and I want to ask everyone a question. I'm going to ask you to keep your answer in your head for this. Are you busy or are you burnt out? And by the way, busy is lower on the scale than burnt out. So if you're saying, well, I'm both, no, you're burnt out. If burnt out is in that vocabulary, you're going to say burnt out. Keep that in your head. If you're busy, but you're not at the point of burnout and you're not at your rock bottom, just mentally hold on to busy for me. You can write it down, put it in your notes, whatever you want to do. And I have a little story to tell you on this. When I first announced my DJX presentation, I was super excited. Hey, everybody, I'm presenting about Burnout. I was at a Rhode Island wedding group meeting. Rick is the president of the Rhode Island wedding group, by the way. And a florist member of the wedding group who I was talking to, I said, hey, check it out. Look, I'm presenting at DJX. And she said, it's kind of ironic that you would present about burnout. Now, she was insinuating that I was burnt out at the time. And to her credit, I was telling her about how busy I was and that I was dancing on the line of burnout. But there's a very fine line there that I want to discuss with you all. And I actually debated today moving this up as my first slide and then coming back to this at the end. Because I think this is a very important question to ask yourself. You may be in this room and you're busy. You may be in this room and you're burnt out. If you're busy, you could be on your way to burnout, and that's probably why you're in this room. If you are in the busy category, as we'll define in a moment, you need to take the steps to avoid burnout. If you're in the burnout category, you need to recover and then take the steps to avoid. Now, for me, I am busy. I am not burnt out. And I do occasionally have small dips where I do go into the point of burnout. If I do a gig every single night of the week, I know I'm going to get burnt out. However, I have the tools and strategies that I know when I get burnt out, but I also know that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be off and I'm going to clock out at 5 o'clock once everything I absolutely have to do is done, and I'm going to hit the gym because that's going to help me recover. That's what you have to do if you are busy and you frequently bounce into burnout. Now, I'm going to ask everyone again, did your answer change after that description? If anyone did, just give me a quick head nod. Did your answer change? So know there is a difference here, and make sure you know exactly what's happening to you. Now, finally, I've asked everyone to hold their questions till the end. Well, that's the end of my presentation. And I have a quick thing I want to leave you with from the Let Them theory. By the way, if you haven't read this book and you're on your verge of burnout, read the book. Phenomenal book. But coping with burnout and learning how to deal with it is about learning how to put your needs first for what works for you with the expectations and feelings of others. This is a quote from the book. I don't know what chapter it's in because I've been listening to it. And I still haven't finished the book, but it's a great book. You really should read it or listen to it. Finally, I'll open it up to anyone who has questions. And if you want to reach out to me or get my slides, this is my Hi Hello card. You can scan this QR code. This is my email and my Instagram. You can follow me on. The one thing I ask is please don't call or text me. And with that, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Is this thing on? Yeah, okay. So if someone does call and leave you a voicemail, you eventually do call them back?
Yes.
And what is the time frame typically on that?
Usually it's about a day. But to be honest, usually I'm so busy with emails that I frequently forget about the voicemails. And it depends on what they're calling about, because for me, I can say, let's face it, 90% of the people who are leaving me a voicemail can't afford us. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but I just know that as a fact. Yes?
How do you balance your client relationships then? How do you build that client relationship? By
So-
not calling them back, by not, you know what I mean, like taking...
So it's not that I don't call them back.
No, I mean taking a couple days, like
Yep.
if a bride calls you in her wedding is...
This is about setting expectations with your clients at the end of the day. I don't want a client who is going to be a bridezilla and wants to hear from me at 10 o'clock at night because she has some small little question about her wedding. Like I said, I'm pretty brash. I don't want her as my client. You have to be willing to set that boundary. And if you're not willing to set that boundary, or you're not in the position financially to set that boundary and turn work away, I recognize that may be a problem for you, and you might have to deal with it for a little bit of time. But if you're on that point of burnout, you might also need to consider that maybe DJing isn't the right career for you. That might be a harsh realization, but it's a conversation I've had to have with my mentor many times, that he said to me, which Matt Radicelli, I'm a member of Mentor Pods, by the way, Pod 11 Prime. He said to me on one of our consultation sessions, you are probably either going to scale out everything in your business or we're going to set you up to sell, based on what my personal burnout process has looked like. Yes?
How's it going, man? DJ Onyx from Vision Entertainment.
DJ Onyx from Vision Entertainment.
Appreciate it.
Come on, guys, hang on a second. By the way, there's no stupid questions in any seminar anywhere here at DJX, but especially for me.
Yeah, so, I guess I'm wondering, and I set that hard, boundary with like phone
Yep.
calls, and I don't give out my number either, and like if it's after a certain hour, like, kind of pushing it to the next day. But I guess, like what I've been finding myself, this position I've been finding myself in the last couple of months is like getting back to emails like now in a time that I would normally like to get back to them sometimes, just because I don't know what it is, whether it's a workload, whether it's, I'm not really sure, but like, not getting back to emails in the timely fashion that I would like to, and then some people mention like, oh, maybe you need like an admin who's taking care of that for you, like, and especially, I'm sure like doing the paperwork, the admin work on the back end is just as time consuming as, trying to figure out how to remain creative and like, actually DJ the job and do the jobs and, stay on top of it. So I guess, what are your tips or suggestions around that? I've heard other people talking about they get a PA from like somebody overseas
Yep.
or something like that, or you just,
Are you a multi-op?
single up, but I do offer like Uplight, Photo Booth, 360, all those things.
I'm going to tell you, from what you're telling me right now, you're probably taking on too much work. You probably need to set some boundaries. Now, you can explore a virtual assistant or hiring someone. You need to make sure that your cost structure factors that in. Because if you're that busy and I don't know if this is a conversation you're having in your head, but if you say to yourself, hey, I'm really busy, I can't get back to my clients, but I can't afford to hire someone, that means you're not charging enough. The second part of that I have to ask you a follow-up question for is, are you not getting back to the emails because you don't want to, or you're in a freeze response, or are you not getting back to the emails because you don't have the time in your day? You know what I mean?
I would say it's both. Sometimes I do get into a little bit of a freeze, but like sometimes, yeah, I actually am just got so many things going on. It's a person like messaging me on like a Friday evening when I'm trying to get ready to do my, club job. I've got a wedding on Saturday.
After 12, by the way, on a Friday, don't expect to hear from me until Monday.
Right.
That's what I tell people. Hey, sorry, but yeah, that's when I log off my email for the day. What's your typical response time to people? Like, are you on average 24 hours? Are you waiting 5 days to get back to people?
I would say like on average,
And no hate for whatever, like, there's no judgment here.
I would say like on average it's 48 hours.
Okay.
So forth, but sometimes
Do you feel like that's unreasonable?
not necessarily.
No, because it's not.
Yeah.
It's a little long. I'd say most people are going to expect 24 hours. Do you use an autoresponder on your emails that's like, hey, our typical response time is 48 hours?
No, but I did hear about like Nick Spinelli putting that out before, that he's got an automatic, like as soon as it hits a certain time on Friday, like you said, we're not getting,
Yep.
don't expect anything back until.
So, and the final tip for dealing with that is, if you, let's say it's 10 o'clock Friday and you're clocking off at 11 to go do a wedding, and you see you got 5 unread emails that you probably need to get to, but like you don't need to get to until Monday. Exactly what I was saying was, shoot them a quick email back that's like, hey, I'm acknowledging that I've got your email, but I'm going to get to it on Monday because I'm about to head out the door to a gig. That's one sentence. That client's going to feel great, and now you're not going to worry about the fact, because you probably have a little anxiety that you didn't respond to them and now you're stressed about it all weekend, because I feel you there. Yeah.
Especially on vacation.
Yep.
Especially on vacation. You're gone for a week or something.
That's what the autoresponder's for. And, if you're on vacation, unless the world is on fire, don't even, if the world's on fire and you have a rental coming up and you have an urgent question, you can text us, and like I might get to it, my staff might get to it because I put somebody on the phone because I run a multi-op. But unless something is on fire, if you're someone who needs I'm sure you've all dealt with the bride or groomzillas who want to schedule a call for every single question they have, and you spend 6 hours planning their wedding that's like a $2,000 5-hour package. Those people are unreasonable. They think they're reasonable, and they will text you. Hey man, if they text you, I'm sorry, I can't get to this right now. I'll text you when I'm back from vacation. It's the same thing. Go for it.
No, I get what you're saying, but
Yep.
in rebuttal to that is building that relationship with the clients at the day of the wedding where you've been awesome, you've
Yep.
answered my text message, you've answered my emails, like the reviews are going to be fantastic instead of saying, we never heard from you or it took you too long to get back to us. Like, for me, I respond right away.
And that's fine.
It works.
If that works for you, great. That's why this is all about what works for you and your business. If that's what works for you, great. That doesn't work for me. So like I said, I'll turn clients away because of that. I have yet to have to deal with someone that has been so bad that actually got to the point of booking us, because it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to respond to you until I have your money in my pocket and then I'm going to take 5 days to respond. No, I'm consistent. If I got a vacation or I'm at DJX, my response is going to be slow. If it's during the week, I'm going to respond as fast as I possibly can, but while also maintaining my boundaries. They're not getting a change in response where one day I'm emailing them like this every 5 seconds, and all of a sudden now I'm taking 10 days to respond, which I never take 10 days to respond. If I take that long, my cat probably walked across the keyboard and deleted the email. And I literally have had that in my email signature before because it has happened. But consistency is really important there. If that's how fast you respond, people are going to expect that. People are also going to expect that if it takes me 5 days to respond, it's going to take me 5 days to respond the entire time. If you become inconsistent, that's when people get concerned. Go for it.
So I love our industry because it's kind of like a choose your own adventure career path.
Yep.
Double-edged sword, where you can always post more, make more mixes, network more, but then also that takes a lot of time and can be burnout. How do you deal with like keeping up with the Joneses in our industry, with like not feeling guilty about like not being active, like taking time for yourself, but also like
Yep.
not worried about like falling behind like in your marketing?
That's something I struggled with massively, and one thing I have to say to you about that whole market portion of that is comparison is evil. Try to avoid comparing yourself to others as much as possible. Sometimes it can be beneficial, but if it's causing you burnout, I'm just going to take Rick, I'm going to use you as an example. If I'm like, hey, Rick has 50 DJs and I have 3, and I'm comparing myself to him, what's that? That's an apples to oranges comparison. And Rick has been in the industry way longer than I have. So should you even be, should I even be where Rick's at? I would have to work some miracle to do that. To answer the first part of your question, you have to, again, set your boundaries for yourself about what you need. And hopefully that, did I answer your question with, okay. And feel free to follow up too. Any other questions? Go for it.
So yeah, I really don't have this question like fully fleshed out, but I
Yep.
guess I'm interested to know how you, and I'm not necessarily talking about in your multi-op, like how you got onto adding on other DJs and so forth, but just feeling like where you were in a position where you could confidently add on people to your business without, really losing out on your own profits, I guess.
I wasn't confident. I had to, because I was burnt out because I was working too much, and my solution to that was to hire other people. And that was a take a risk and try it, and I didn't know how it was going to go. And for the first year of that, it was pretty scary to step back. And I have a team of great people right now, Charisse included. Thanks for being here. But I've also had to let people go that weren't the right fit. And I'm 2 years into running a multi-op, and it's been a hell of a ride. But I look back now and I say if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be running my company full time right now. Because at the point that I was at in October of 2023, I was saying to myself, okay, here's my option. Either I scale my company, if I need to scale back to the point that I'm basically making, what I would make to go work a corporate job, but I have all the advantages of running and owning a company where I have flexibility in my time and stuff, I have to be okay with that, because for me, that was better than go get a corporate job and lose those benefits. Or I had to jack my prices way up, pretty much double them, and scale way down and deal with some income instability in the months where most people probably aren't busy from January to March. So that's the choice I made, was to go the multi-op route. Any other questions? Thank you guys so much for attending. If anybody has questions they didn't want to ask in the whole room, I'll hang out here. Yeah, just don't text me, please. I'll hang out outside. I'll be around for the rest of the night, so feel free to approach me anytime.
One more time, give it up for Atlas, please. Seminars for the week. Don't forget tonight, 8 o'clock in the balcony, we have our celebrating 35.